How does a subscription brand on Shopify actually grow? There's actually tons of content online about e-commerce, but there's not a whole lot about subscriptions. And the thing is, the content that is out there, most people overcomplicate it. The reality is that for a subscription direct-to-consumer business, there's only 3 metrics that you should really be concerned about. And in this video, I'm gonna show you how some of the best brands in the world use those 3 metrics and how you can use them as well to scale profitably and predictably without burning cash. By the way, my name is George Kapernaros. I run Yocto. We're a Klaviyo lead partner. I'm personally part of Klaviyo's Partner Advisory Council, and we service some of the best brands in the world with retention and lifecycle marketing services. So if you find this video useful, please do subscribe so I can keep posting. Okay, as I said, every subscription brand lives or dies by 3 very concrete metrics. If you go into recharge, if you go into loop subscriptions, Kio, Smarter, any subscription technology, you're gonna see a bunch of numbers. And it's actually very easy to get overwhelmed. But if you start thinking about the subscription program from a first principle standpoint and really start thinking about what actually matters, then the only 3 things that matter are those 3 metrics. Metric number 1 is how many new active subscribers you acquire monthly. That's net new customers that you bring into the website that subscribe for a subscription to one of your products. It's reactivating old subscribers that had churned in the past. It's converting existing one-time purchase customers into subscription customers. It's all new active subscriptions that you acquire monthly. The second metric that matters is how many subscribers do you lose per month. People tend to call this churn rate, but what it really means is how many people did I lose this month? What is the rate of loss that I have per month? And then the third metric is how much does each subscriber pay me every single month? What is the average revenue per user, which is how most people call this metric. Those 3 numbers tell you more or less everything you need to know about the subscription program. And focus on either or all 3 of those, and you will see incredible growth into your subscription program. And you can do all sorts of things, but if those 3 metrics don't improve, you would essentially be wasting your time, because they are ultimately the pillars, the foundational blocks of your subscription business. Okay, let's take a look at an actual example so that you see with your very own eyes how impact on one of those 3 metrics can radically transform a subscription-based business. This is a real tool that we use for our clients. The numbers are real. This is an actual company. Not going to give you the full tool. I'm not going to show you the rest of the sections. Obviously, we have to have proprietary things that we show to our clients, but I'll show you this section in full. And what you see here is that you have your current baseline metrics, which is the number of subscribers that they have, how many they acquire monthly, what the churn rate is, how much revenue do they make per user, and then the growth rate. We've let it be stable in this projection. Usually, companies tend to grow over time though. A 5% relative lift in subscriber acquisition and a 5% relative decrease in churn rate, and those are relatively easy to achieve. It's like just a 5% relative decrease, right? It goes from 13.76 to 13.7%. It's very small of an improvement. Here's how things would change. Here we have the current baseline projections, and here we have the modeled projections after these improvements were applied. And what we see is that by month 6, the company would make around 500K in extra revenue, right? Which is significant. It's not a small increase to make like $500,000 extra from your subscription program just by this 5% improvement. But then extend this over time, extend this over 24 months. And then what happens is that we go from 46 million to 50 million. That's 3.5 million in extra revenue. And that's with this 5% relative improvement, because on churn it's decrease. Can you improve a metric by 5%? in relative terms. I'm not saying like a 5% absolute lift, which is a very different story. It's just 5% relative. Of course you can. Even if you are the perfect company, the perfect setup, you can of course find a 5% improvement. And in this case, because the company is large, so is the impact. Now imagine that you would affect those metrics in a much more way. And then imagine that you also increase the revenue per user, which is gonna compound everything else here. I'm gonna do this just to make a point. I'm gonna assume that this were to go to 91, which is ultimately a $3 lift in value per subscriber per month, which of course it's a lot, but just for this exercise, just so that we see the impact. It's 51 minus the 6. Now it's almost 5 million in lift over time. And that's the beauty of subscription business models, that the lift that you can drive is truly incredible because it keeps paying you over and over and over again. And obviously there's tons of things you can do in a subscription business and any business, frankly. As long as you focus on those 3 metrics, you are going to be seeing incredible compound effects over time. Now the question is, how do you do this? I'm going to show you this next. Okay, so let's start with our first metric, which is the acquisition of new subscribers. Believe it or not, whereas a lot of people would think about this as a play that mostly lies within lifecycle and attention marketing, it actually lies way more on what you do on the website and what you do on the advertising side and what you do, most importantly, on the offer structure. Unless the offer that you propose to your customers makes subscription be a no-brainer, then your acquisition of new subscribers is going to be very difficult. And I'm going to show you a few examples from some brands out there so that you see concretely what I'm referring to. So let's start with this, which is a very simple subscribe and save offer. There's a massive discount that's applied, and then the discount is also escalating when users subscribe to receive more bottles than one. Why do they do this? Because they want to increase the average order value and in so doing increase the revenue they make per active subscriber. Just to compare, you would be paying the same price per bottle if you get 3 bottles on subscription than if you would if you bought 6 bottles on a one-off purchase, which is massive, right? And then obviously this is a very big incentive for most shoppers because most shoppers, frankly, they just want to purchase something. They don't think too much beyond the value/cost ratio of the purchase. Having said this, there's multiple brands that go way beyond this. Let's take a look at this company, which is called Everyday Dose, and they're doing amazingly well in the US. They don't just have massive savings on subscription. On top of this, they've engineered a whole system around the acquisition offer, which rewards people with a bunch of free products, a bunch of free gifts, and then importantly, they keep sending you gifts throughout the year. So month 2, month 3, month 4, month 5, and more is all coming with some sort of gift. And obviously they think about this as the cost to retaining the subscription revenue, and they've run the math and they've seen that, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit of money to send this travel pack, but I'm actually going to make it all back because X% number of people are going to stick to the subscription program, whereas they would otherwise not. And here's another example. This company is more a direct response company, so they don't lean so much into the gifting and delighting aspect, but they do go very heavy on the promises, right? That you will lock the lowest price ever, you're gonna get free shipping forever, you're gonna get reserved stock, the product has sold out 12 times. So again, they're giving you this sense that, listen, if you wanna try this product, then the best way to try the product is through this subscription. It's just a no-brainer compared to getting it as a one-off purchase. And then the last example, and the reason why I'm showing you all of those examples is because I want you to see that it applies across brands. It applies whether it's direct response, whether it's brand. In this case, it's a very heavily branded brand. The people behind it are also obviously very performance savvy, but it's nothing like the previous brand, and yet they do the same things. They have free merch, they have savings that you're locking, you're getting gifts every single milestone. It's just a strictly better way to be experiencing the product or the company's value proposition, which ultimately is all that matters when it comes to growing your subscription and subscriber acquisition rate. It's the single most important thing you can do. Now, having said this, on top of this, what you can also do is have a dedicated campaign track for your email and SMS and direct mail and any other retention channels that you use that targets one-time purchasers and actively promotes the subscription to them. And of course, you want to have flows that do this as well, not just one-off campaigns. If you do those things, you'll see your rate of acquiring subscribers go up by a lot. Now, let's talk about churn. Churn is the number of cancellations you have divided by your active subscribers. That's your churn rate. And as you may know, there's two kinds of churn. There's like voluntary churn, which is what we're going to talk about in this video, and there's involuntary churn, which is that your credit card perhaps failed and then like your subscription did not renew. This is a separate topic. Most subscription companies do have workflows to protect people again and again and again, and those tend to help you deal with involuntary churn. But when it comes to voluntary churn, which is when people actively want to stop being on your subscription, the way we've seen it work and what we've seen over and over and over again is that most churn reasons happen because the onboarding experience to the subscription program was not making a good enough case for the product. So people will typically say, oh, it's too expensive. And those are the same people that are buying expensive iPhones or going on expensive vacations. It's not price, it's value perception, really, right? And they might say, it didn't do what I wanted or what I expected it to do, which again, why would this be the case? Probably there's a disconnect between what your advertising promises or what your website says and what the product actually does. And you did not really communicate to them what they could realistically expect or what the timeline of those expectations should be. Because maybe the product does work amazing, but it takes 4 months or 6 months and doesn't work like this from the very first week. And then the last piece is, oh, I have too much and I don't really need more of this, which is more of a usage problem. They don't use it enough. And in some cases, the product has a daily frequency, like you take your supplement, you need to do this every day. It's pretty simple. But in other cases, the product might be like for styling your hair. And of course, you can't be consistently styling your hair every single day. Like some days you want, some days you will. You will consume more or you will consume less, depending on how your lifestyle is. So that's typically the hardest one to solve. But all of those, you want to start addressing by having a very clear and very powerful onboarding for new subscribers. And onboarding, typically most brands don't think about this, only the biggest and top brands do, has 3 components: a transactional experience, a marketing pre-product delivery experience, and then a marketing post-product delivery experience. And obviously that's way beyond the typical thank you flows that you see being set up in Klaviyo. You need to have this. That's the basis of everything else. Having said this, what you also want to have, which we already discussed, is you want to have a clear added value to the subscription program so that, of course, they have reason to stay subscribed, right? So that's where your free gifts throughout the year come from. That's where you can have, just like you have physical gifts, you can have digital gifts, digital IP, as we sometimes call it. Think about like exclusive playlists that you might be giving to people. The company I showed this, wine company Grazi, they promote enjoying life slowly. There's a lifestyle that they market, right? So imagine that when you receive your product, along with your product, you receive a message that says, enjoy your first sip, listening to this Spotify playlist put together by the Grazi team for you. It's a delightful experience. So the more you do this, and more people will stay subscribed to your subscription program, obviously. And then on top of this, you have to think through about how you structure your offers again. Because again, the bigger the bundle that you sell, the better it is. Basically, the more money you collect upfront, this is a big deal. And then more importantly, from a churn standpoint, the fewer times somebody gets charged, the less likely they are to churn. So if you charge somebody monthly, they will churn more than if you were to charge them once every 6 months. You will ultimately retain them for far longer if they have just a bigger bundle. The other piece to all of these are the billing reminder emails, which, of course, it's, if you've looked into the data, it's usually a cause of friction. Typically, churn spikes when people receive a reminder about them getting charged soon, which is precisely why you want to treat those reminders and notifications in a very serious way and make sure they remind people full of the benefits that they've subscribed to. You make sure that you inform them if there's a gift coming their way. You make sure you ultimately remind them of why they subscribed in the first place and what the value add is. The last piece to all of this, obviously, is your actual customer portal's cancellation flow. When people go to cancel, typically by default, the subscription have like a bunch of simple questions that you want to personalize. Not personalize, but adapt to your brand. You want to run cancellation service, see why people actually cancel, and then based off of those answers, have tailored treatments. So for example, if they tell you I have too much, tell them to pause, tell them to gift it to somebody else. Like, there's alternatives to just straight away canceling. And the most powerful thing you can do is create a video, ideally of the founder themselves talking, greeting the customer as they enter this cancellation flow and telling them, again, all of the great things about the subscription and what's beautiful about it and why they should ultimately stay subscribed. This alone will do wonders for combating your churn. And then, of course, some people will churn anyway, which is why you want to have reactivation campaigns and flows like we discussed before, so that you can bring a portion of them back into your subscription program. Now, let's talk about ARPU, or average revenue per user, which ultimately is what? It's your subscription revenue divided by active subscribers. It's a very simple metric, and ultimately the goal here is to do what? To get people to spend more so that you can monetize more. And you saw what dramatic impact this can have, especially as it compounds with improvements in churn rate and subscription acquisition. There's ultimately three main ways you can increase a revenue per user. Number one, I sound like a broken record, but you want to incentivize bigger bundles. You want people to spend more from the very first order that they place on the website. That will naturally increase the amount you earn per user. The next thing you want to do is, of course, you want to expose them to new products. And a sneaky little way you can do this, and I've opened Everydance website because it makes it easy to understand, is what we call gift with purchase. So imagine that you're purchasing skincare for your kid, right? What they also have here is mom and baby. So they have products for moms as well, which is great, because what you can do is have a little bit of a gift that's for the mom, and then maybe the mom likes it and then they purchase more. So just giving them the opportunity to try out new products is going to naturally get people to spend more on the website, because in so doing they'll discover the value of the brand and the value that the other products have. The third lever that you have at your disposal is what happens after they've purchased, after they've received the product. And it's what you would typically think about when you start thinking about cross-sell and upsell and so on. And reality is that you have two main things you want to do. You want to find what's the optimal time to do the cross-selling and what's the optimal next best product that the customer should purchase. So they start buying this, what should they buy next? Now, there's two paths. Path number one is that you do a manual analysis, or better yet, you hire Yocto and Yocto can help you do this, or you rely on what technology tools tell you. And there's tons of technology tools that are designed to help with this. Rello is a technology that does this. Repeat is another. Even Klaviyo's own marketing analytics suite, which is the advanced extra add-on component that they have that you need to pay extra for, does help answer those questions. But the idea is ultimately that you find the sweet spot of when to send the cross-sell email and what to cross-sell. Okay, this is it for today, guys. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you learned a couple of new tricks, or at least started thinking about subscriptions in a bigger and better way. If you need any help with any of this, that's what my company Yocto does. Feel free to reach out. Make sure you subscribe also, so that I keep posting content like this. that's hopefully adding value to everybody in the ecosystem. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.